Lake, and welcome to In Conversation with Tibettv. In today's episode, we have two of the MPs from New Zealand, one from New Zealand and one from the Fiji Island, who are here for the 35th anniversary of conferment of Nobel Peace Prize for His Holiness the Dalai Lama yesterday here in Dharamshala. So the MPs are MP Joseph Mooney from New Zealand and MP Rinesh Sharma from Fiji Island. So good morning. Thank you so much for talking to us. Thank you so much for being here. So this morning you had an audience with His Holiness the Dalai Lama along with your colleagues from New Zealand and one from Fiji Island. Can you tell us how did the audience go, and also what message will you carry back to New Zealand about the Tibetan people and our resilience in the face of adversity? How do you see it?
Well, good morning. It's really lovely to be here, and what a beautiful place that you have. And I should say I also come from an area in New Zealand where I live in mountains, and this reminds me a lot of home. So I feel like being home here. But the audience with His Holiness the Dalai Lama this morning was a very special one, and we feel very privileged to have had the opportunity to meet with him. And it was really just to sort of underscore how important it is for so many people. We saw a number of monks who had been training for many years and just completed their doctorates, and it was obviously a big moment for them to see him. So we felt that we were quite privileged to have the opportunity to meet with him. And his long-standing message of peace, which I think is one that's really important and has always been for this world, but is now more than ever, as we see a lot of global instability around the world. In terms of it's important to be here, I think, and to just remind ourselves of that. And peace is not easy. It takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of work in ourselves and in our societies to make sure that we can actually deliver on peace while addressing the difference of opinion that we have. In terms of the Tibetan people, this is something that's been of great interest in New Zealand for many years, over many governments, and we're as a people in New Zealand, we're very concerned about the human rights around the world, and including those of the Tibetan people. And it's something that we've raised many times before.
Well, to be 31 years of age, parliamentarian from the Republic of Fiji Islands, and to be the first Fijian parliamentarian to be invited here to Dharamshala, I think His Holiness the Dalai Lama, is a symbol of peace, harmony, and how to reconcile, without being aggressive, and how to endure and manifest this energy of negativity and yet be positive and be hopeful for a future of peace. So we here in Fiji, we promote the oceans of peace among our region. So it's quite relatable to the history of Tibetans and the history of the Pacific as well, of what we have endured in our past. But as a young parliamentarian, my message to all the youth who will, be the future leaders is that we need to promote compassion, harmony, and peace in whatever we strive in, because with that unified approach, we will be able to achieve a very sustainable and prosperous future.
So, since this is your first visit to the Dharamshala, so I'd like to know how did your support for and solidarity for Tibetans begin? How did this connection come about?
Well, I am from a generation of the Gurmatias who, during the British time, left India on a boat, and they were heading towards various parts of the world. I believe I'm the fourth generation. And we have had a history of how our ancestors were treated, and it's as similar to the Tibetan history of what your people have gone through. So in terms of looking back after all these generations, I've been welcomed back to my ancestral homeland with a lot of love, dignity, and respect. And I think that's just a tiny drop in the ocean of motivation that it's up to the younger generations now to sort of move ahead with solidarity peace and being compassionate with their visions, with their goals and strategies and implementations, whether it's between countries of sharing bilateralism or multilateralism, but it's about forging these partnerships, having understanding, and building a world of peace.
Yes, we do have a very small Tibetan community in New Zealand, but we had a visit from some of the members of your Central Tibetan Administration visited New Zealand a few months ago, and they visited and to connect with a number of my colleagues. I wasn't able to meet them then, unfortunately, due to other pressures on my time. But it's the opportunity came to visit here, and I was very keen to come and visit the people of Tibet and the message of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Something I've been aware of for a long time. Something I'm personally very strongly interested in is in the human rights of people around the world, including in my own country, but also here. And so it was an opportunity that to come that I had to take up.
After attending the events commemorating His Holiness the Dalai Lama's 35th year of conferment of Nobel Peace Prize Day and meeting with the Central Tibetan Administration, what stood out to you most about Tibetan people and our struggle, and how do you plan to reflect that in your work back in New Zealand?
Yes, well, this is. I mean, there's a lot of complexity to this, obviously, and it has a long-standing history. So New Zealand has raised a number of times, including recently, with a number of other countries, and including our foreign minister and deputy prime minister, has raised the concerns around to ensure the human rights of the people of Tibet is upheld, and that's an ongoing matter of interest for New Zealand, and so for me personally, but it's something that's been expressed with other countries. We want to see those human rights upheld. So it was something that I'll be certainly continuing to focus on when I return to New Zealand.
Well, I think Fiji is big at cultural diplomacy, and I think here in Dharamshala we get to indulge in the culture, the diversity, and there's so much color in terms of the traditions and heritage, that's been maintained and kept for generations. So I think these are stories to share, stories to tell, stories to learn from, and exchange in exchange for what the Pacific has to offer. And I think that would be the first stepping stone of Fiji and the Central Tibetan Administration of working together and exploring these opportunities and having more conversation and dialogue of what our future aspirations and shared interest can be.
Given the complexities of New Zealand's trade relationship with China, how does your delegation balance economic interests for advocating human rights violations in Tibet?
I do need to make it clear that we're not here as a government delegation. We're a cross-party delegation of members of parliament who are interested in this. But more broadly, I would say New Zealand has a strong and good relationship with China. But we also have always made it clear that when we have difference of opinion, we will raise those both privately and publicly where we see appropriate. And that's an example is the concern about the people of Tibet's human rights that New Zealand has raised with other countries. So it's a balance in terms of we have a strong and good relationship as a country with China, but we will raise issues where we see them on matters like this.
Well, any form of human right violation should be condemned, not just by Fiji, Pacific nations. This should be done globally. But then every country has a challenge in terms of, being able to protect and provide for their people. So that's where their interests and values comes up. In terms of Fiji, China, China is our one of our development partners with India, US, and many more. But yet we Fiji wants to remain flexible on how they navigate their strategies in terms of their shared interests, their values, and what's right for their people in that particular point in time. So that's the approach Fiji has taken of being friends to all and enemies of none.
So, looking ahead, how do you envision New Zealand playing a role in fostering dialogue and peaceful resolution for Tibetan cause, especially given the global challenges of addressing authoritarian regimes?
Well, look, like I said before, that this is not a government delegation here, but these are members of Parliament who are interested in this. And look, we will take this back and we'll have further discussions with our colleagues in New Zealand about this. Obviously, like I said before, we have a good relationship and have respect for China. We also have a lot of respect for the people of Tibet and their human rights being upheld. And so this is an ongoing discussion and I think building the relationship between our people is a really important thing, and having these visits between New Zealand and here is something that's really important. And look, it'll be an ongoing relationship that will build over time.
Thank you so much for talking to Tibettv, and thank you for your support for Tibetan cause and our struggle. Thank you so much for being here.